Incredible, we're talking about young guns and referring to Eklent Kaçi because we almost don't think of him in that sense because he's been around so long, but you are absolutely right. I mean, he's still only 23.
And this looks like a good start for Zielinski.
Yeah, he's the younger man by a couple of years, 21. Youngest ever winner of a Euro Tour event. 5 years ago now. He was only 16 when he won the Treviso Open. Played Mario He in the final. And just destroyed him, 9-1.
Yeah, he likes to get on with the game. You won't see him hanging around mulling over shots for too long. Plays very quick, very natural.
Of all these Polish players that we're talking about, Carl, we're waiting for one of them to really break through at the highest level. Do you think he's the most likely?
I think consistency-wise, maybe so, yeah. I mean, there's a few that have won some big tournaments, but kind of one-hit wonders. You know, a lot of them have won Euro Tours. Even some of the other disciplines that some of these guys might play. They've won some of the big events in them.
Well, Shevchik won the World 10 ball, didn't he?
Yeah, but as you said, which one's going to break through in this type of event, you know, the Matchroom Pool arena? Even getting to the final stages, you know, deep into the tournament.
Started off with a 9-5 win over Britain's Damien Massey. And then, really surprising, he lost 9-2 to Sullivan Clark. That was what sent him to the loser's side. But he's a winner in the opening rack. Wiktor Zielinski, you said he likes to get on with it. He certainly did there. He leads Eklent Kaçi 1-0. So we can check in on some other scores now. Remember, it's all just losers qualification at this stage. And Chris Melling may just get through against Pia Filler. He's on the hill now. He's won the 14th rack to go 8-6 in front. Sullivan Clark may be heading for another big result. 5-2. He leads against Tolian Han. Michael Schneider 7-3 up on Slavomir Savitsky. So it looks like he's putting that FSR disappointment behind him. Fabian Negline has pulled one back against Michael Gavenciak, who remains on the hill, now at 8-6. Darren Appleton has won the first 2 racks against Raimo Tisar.
Well, that was a terrible break-off. Just look at where the cue ball's finished there. Look how thin he hits this ball. Yeah, you can see the angle the cue ball went off the pack. It went too low down onto that side rail. The ball seemed to split a lot kinder if you can get that cue ball coming off parallel from the head ball, the one ball. Catchy's going to be playing a push, and it's a messy push at that.
Talk about youngest evers with Zielinski in the Euro Tour. Kaci became the youngest ever Mosconi Cup player when he made his debut at the age of 19. And really, it's hard to say anything going into an Eklent Kaçi match in terms of what might happen, because you just never know which version of him is going to show up.
That's a good shot from Wiktor.
Karol Skowronski has taken the second rack, so now leads the hometown man Torsten Homan 2-0. Got to keep an eye on that David Alcadie situation. 4-3 now, he trails Francesco Candela.
Well, it actually looks like Catchy can see a piece of this one, so I take that back. It was not a good shot from Wiktor Zielinski.
Draw for the last 64 will be made when all matches have been completed tonight. Everyone who came through on the winner's side will be randomly paired with someone who's come through from the losers qualifying round. You'll be able to catch that draw on the Matchroom Pool social media channels and then get all the reaction on Off the Rail. You'll be appearing on that tonight, Carl, I assume?
I'll be there discussing the draw. Usually you get some good tasty matchups in the last 64. I'm sure tonight's draw won't disappoint. But if you do go through the winner's side, you keep your seed, so... Oh, look at this. I thought it fluked the one ball, but it stayed up.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of variety when we get to that single elimination. Still going to be race to 9 in last 64 and last 32. Then it goes up to 10 for the last 16 and the quarters, 11 for the semis and 13 for the final. The shot clock only comes in at the quarter-final stage.
You got some reaction on that cue ball with the young man. Beautiful shot.
Meanwhile, his compatriot Karol Skowronski over on the other show table has now extended his lead to 3-0 over Torsten Homan. It was clear from very early on that he had a lot of potential. Talked about winning that Euro Tour event at 16, which is an incredible achievement, but the same season he also got to the quarter-final of another Euro Tour event and the last 16 of another one, so it was clear there was more to him and more in him than just one really good tournament.
Chris Mellon has beaten Pia Filler. It was a strong effort from Pia, but in the end she loses out to Mr. Mellon. He finds himself in the hat.
Yeah, 9-6 final score there, so another British player goes through and Pia Filler bows out, having done a reputation even more good here. Be some players coming through on the loser's side who none of the players from the winner's side are going to be keen to find themselves up against. Maybe David Alcadie, although as I said he is behind at the moment. Certainly the loser of this match, whoever that turns out to be. Sorry, the winner of this match rather. Tyler Steyer. John Morra, Chris Melling, who we just mentioned there. There'll be others as well who will be really dangerous draws. Fine start from Wiktor Zielinski of Poland. He leads Albania's Eklent Kaçi 2-0. So what would you say are the strengths of Zielinski, Carl?
I think you've just got to say the pure natural ability, just the way he plays the game, he gets on with it, he sees it very quick, clearly just a natural talent. Nothing comes hard, he's not looking for the shots, he's not taking ages, he's just seeing it and he's just getting on with it. And I think whenever a player plays that way, they're always a threat.
And really those things apply to most of the big stars in the game now. I mean, you look at someone like Filler, Shaw, just so natural. Likes of Ocean and Van Boning are a little more considered, but not much more. I mean, you can see the natural ability there.
Yeah, they would still play quick upon addressing the shot, but maybe they don't run round as fast as the other names you've just mentioned. But they certainly wouldn't come under the slow play. He's having a nightmare on the break there. Can't believe how bad he's hitting it. Watch the cue ball again here. Look how low it goes. But he did make a ball, he found a ball, he looked one in. This isn't going to work out. He's left a pot with Catchy. Catchy's one of the best potters on the circuit. Doesn't really miss many balls.
Famed for his straight cue action. Alex Lely, European Mosconi Cup captain, described him as one of the 3 most talented players he'd ever seen. Didn't say who the other 2 were. Obviously, you're one of them, Carl.
That's doubtful. Now, Catchy used to take ages on the cue. You see how he's taking ages on the shot here? He has speeded that up a little bit. I think still on certain shots, especially that one where it was so hard. Probably still keeps that in his game.
Speaking of the Mosconi Cup, there's a lot of talk about it now. It's not much more than 3 months away, and the first automatic place on both teams will be decided by the end of this week, albeit that Shane Van Boning has already mathematically secured the first American spot. And there'll be 2 more places will be filled on each team after the US Open. So effectively you're talking about 3 automatic places on either side. Now when you look at it from a European point of view, Zielinski is currently in 7th place and Kaci is in 8th. So this match has that context as well. The difference from Zielinski's point of view is you would feel if he was to make the Mosconi team this year, he would probably have to do it via the automatic route. Whereas you look at someone like Catchy, who's got a lot of Mosconi experience, he could finish maybe 5th or even 6th in the final European points table and get a captain's pick.
Yeah, nobody from Poland has played for Team Europe. That's got to change soon, you would think. There's too many good players, and there's quite a few that have already qualified for the last 64, I believe.
Yeah, we're looking on the winner's side. You've got Wojciech Szewczyk, Mateusz Sniegocki, Sebastian Bakowski, Radoslav Babica, Mieszko Fortunski, Thomas Kaplan, Konrad Yusushin. That really backs up what you're saying. There could still be more from this side. Kaci set to open his account here. He comes here on the back of another good performance on the Euro Tour just a few days ago. Bulgaria was beaten in the final there. And he's off the mark here, now trailing 2-1. Aloysius Yap gone, the other member of the Singapore team from the World Cup in danger. Tolian Han 7-2 down now to Sullivan Clark. Lo Ho Sum, World Masters finalist, 8-4. He leads against Hector Ivan Luna Iglesias. He's got to be a contender for the best name in the field. David Alcadie still 4-3 down to Francesco Candela. And your mate, Darren Appleton, 5-0 he leads against Raimo Tisar. Janiuski now 4-1 up against Ramazan Akdag. And Sanjin Pelovanovic of Bosnia and Herzegovina, always a dangerous opponent for anyone. Looks like he's going to be in single elimination. He needs one more rack, leads Tobias Huys 8-5. Michael Schneider on the hill as well at 8-4 against Slavomir Savitsky. And just to wrap that up, another Polish name who is looking good to go through is Daniel Maciol, 5-2 up against his compatriot Bart Schapla.
Well, there was definitely a difference in breaks this time. Look at this break from Catchy. Tough shot coming up though. He's jacked up over the 9. He's got to try and spear this 2-ball in the corner. Can he squeeze the cue ball off 2 rails? Oh, the 9's not as bad as I first thought, so this might be okay for Catchy. Yeah, I think he's just worried about the 8-ball. He was going to spin it round off 3 rails, so he's just making sure that shot is available. And it was, just misses the 8-ball, so that's okay.
Mentioned earlier, just a few days ago, we got to the final of that Euro Tour event in Bulgaria. Was beaten by Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. He got to one in Italy earlier in the year. The man who beaten there was Joshua Filler. So that's basically the 2 leading European players of the year who have beaten him in those 2 finals. And in the other 2 so far this season, we get to the semis of the Lascaux Open and the last 16 in Austria. So been very consistent there. But in other events, he's really failed to shine. Went out early at the World Championship, last 64, beaten by Lo Ho Sum, though he's beaten a lot of good players this year.
Well, Kaci mind back to the beginning of the season. He had a complete nightmare at the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, all sorts of things happening there. I think he was late for one match. He was conceding early in others. And then at times he showed flashes of brilliance. He still finished last in a field of 16.
Nice shot there to get back in good position for this 8. Been a good rack from Eklent. Just to tie the match up 2-2. Just feel this is going to go the distance, don't you?
Early signs would point to that. And as you say, it is now all square at 2 apiece. Let's look at the other matches then. Sullivan Clark on the hill now against Tolian Han at 8-2. Daniel Maciol has stretched his lead over Bart Shapler to 6-2. Yanni Uski now 5-1 in front against Ramazan Akdag. David Alcadie's problems intensify. He's lost another rack to now trail 5-3 to Francesco Candela. Alcadie's a long way down, you know, in the European Mosconi standings. Can turn that round with one good week here, but he's not been playing well. And his chances of making inroads could be slipping away in a few racks' time. Back here, early stages, 2-all.
Another good break off. Pockets the one ball in that side. Look at the cue ball here, and it's the 9-ball. Kind of spins off it.
Kaci arrives at this stage via winner's qualification. He did win his first couple of matches to get there. He was then beaten 9-7 by Nick Economopoulos of Greece. So important in this format to just get those first couple of matches under your belt, because then you basically have 2 cracks at getting through to single elimination. Takes a bit of the pressure off the first of them.
Yeah, and this is what usually happens in these big tournaments. Some players seem to get drawn against monsters, you know, the best pool players that are out there. And other players, you can find a soft draw. I mean, that does switch itself up over time, but Catchy's been beat off Nikos Economopoulos, and now he's playing Wiktor Zielinski. It doesn't get much tougher than that.
Looking at Zielinski there, so many young players have made their mark here this week, but they all seem to look even younger than they are. If I met Zielinski on the street, I'd think he was about 14 or 15.
Well, I don't think Eklent comes under that criteria.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, he's an interesting character, lives in his own world a bit. I don't mean that in a bad way at all. He just likes to do his own thing and live his way. Albania, not exactly a country represented to any great extent on the global sporting stage. Kaci, one of the very few exceptions. National football team has done a bit better over the last decade or so. Made their impact at the Euros back in 2016.
And it's another fine clearance.
Well, a moment ago I mentioned football, and that's a hat-trick for Eklent Kaçi. From 2-0 down, 3 in a row, and he leads for the very first time in this match. His compatriot, Bazar Spahiu, having a real battle with So Shaw. Spahiu now leading 7-6. In fact, Shaw's levelled that one. And Fabian Negline has just won the 16th rack to take it to a hill-hill finish against Michael Gavenciak of the Czech Republic. No change in the David Alcadie situation, still 5-3 down to Francesco Candela.
That's 3 from 3. And that means he's really got his eye in on the break. We've seen Shane Van Bonen earlier. He seemed to have a bit of a nightmare on the break. Catchy's proving that it is there as long as you hit it 100% correct. It's an easier pot into the top right, but it's an easier positional shot if you pot it into the top left. That's one of his strengths right there, potting them type of balls.
Winner of the World 10-ball title last year, beat Naoki Oi in the final and had a good go at trying to retain it this year, got to the semis. Although we've been talking about his poor performances in the very biggest events, still been picking things up along the way, getting wins under his belt.
That's shy of pace though, he's pulled out the shot there. Just decelerated, didn't push through the cue ball enough. Local boy Thorsten Homan, well, he's having a bit of a nightmare at the minute. He trails Karol Skowronski 5 racks to 0.
Yeah, vastly experienced Homan. Turned 43 last month. I think the minimum target he probably will have set himself, you would think, in his hometown tournament would have been to get to the single elimination stage and see where he goes from there. He's going to need a minor miracle if he's to do it now.
So the poor positional shot has cost him. Very frustrating that way. You've got a good chance in the balls and just a bad positional shot makes you not run the balls out. Zielinski's got to come with a good shot here though. Just landed a little awkward on this 6, so if he draws it back he would be running towards the 9. And if he plays it with topspin, it's very hard to control the speed. Nicely done. Delayed screw back shot there from Zielinski.
So how do you do that? How do you put that impact on the cue ball?
You play like a little bit of a stun draw shot, so instead of just delivering the cue straight through like you would on a draw shot, it's a little bit delayed. So you still aim at the bottom of the cue ball. You just don't send the cue as far through as you would on a draw shot. And it's a shot that comes up quite a lot because you've got to change the angle, change the path line of the cue ball.
Well, you've already said you fancy a hill finish in this one. And they are level once again at 3-3. Still all very tight between Eklent Kaçi and Wiktor Zielinski. So Shaw now on the hill at 8-7 against Bizarre Spahiu. Michael Schneider still on the hill at 8-7 against Slavomir Savitsky. Here's what's going on next door. Karol Skowronski, 5-0 now, leading against Torsten Homan. Homan will give absolutely everything to get through. Sure, he'll hope that this event comes back to Fulda, but no guarantee that it will. Might be his one and only chance to do well in a big event like this in his hometown. Daniel Massiol now 7-3 up on Bart Schapla. David Alcadie's got one back. 5-4 now. He trails Francesco Candela.
The break shot has to improve, and it has done. He's hit the one ball a little fuller this time, and he's got a shot on the 2, I believe.
Zielinski definitely is not 123 racks. Just a slight error there. That should read 3-3. Just gone 6-0 to Skowronski. Whatever else, Homan doesn't want to bow out. Losing 9-0. He's 2/3 of the way there now. Janiuski is coasting. He's put the disappointment of not seeing off Shane Van Bonen earlier firmly behind him, it would seem. 8-1 now he leads Ramazan Akdag. Still a long way to go, Carl, but just going back to what we were saying earlier, it almost feels like one of those matches you just think, look, let's just start the deciding rack now, because everything we've seen so far indicates that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah, and he's showing you exactly what we meant earlier on. He just gets on with it, plays very natural. May not have the best cue ball in the game. Sometimes loses it, leaves himself these type of shots on the 9-ball.
And with that, Zielinski, having led 2-0 and trailed 3-2, is now back in front at 4-3. Now that was a quick rack, so I'm not sure much has changed on any of the other tables that we can tell you about. Sebastian Stab, the German player, has just got off the mark, was 3-0 down to Spencer Oliver. That's now 3-1. As we have a moment, Carl, and you've had a few days to look at the different players, who's your pick now for the title? I think you called the World Championship right, didn't you? You said Van Bonen.
I believe I did.
Yeah, and that was before it had even started.
Well, I did pick Filler at the start. I'm going to stick with Filler.
You're looking at me quite quizzically.
Well, I'm wondering who you'd pick.
Yeah, I like Ocean. I like his chances. I've seen him play some very good stuff in this tournament. And you feel he's due, don't you? I mean, it's quite a tribute to him. It's not that long since he was last in the winner's circle at a big event, but never seems to be very long nowadays. So yeah, I'm going to go for Albin Ocean. Sullivan Clark is through. 9-3 win over Tolian Han. So that means that both of the Singapore players who got to the World Cup final are now out of the European Open.
Cue ball's close. It's the point.
And in the end, I think he'll be more than happy to settle for what he's got.
The pink 4 ball is the big ball in this rack. Doesn't pot anywhere, so he's going to have to break it out. He can use a 3 ball because that's just near it, so that's not too bad. That's what he's looking at. Didn't contact that how he wanted. He was trying to just hit the 6. So he's going to have to play a safety shot now. Quite a tall young man, isn't he, Zielinski? So he can stretch over and reach this if he wants to play thin off it.
Yeah, I mentioned that Euro Tour win he had at 16 at the Treviso Open. He won it again last year, and he's won another Euro Tour title this year, beating Joshua Filler in the final. Another big moment in terms of winning tournaments this year. The Las Vegas Open in March beat Aloysius Yap in the final. $30,000 first prize.
Catches in a spot of bother here. May try run the cue ball into the 8 to pot the 8. Playing off thin. He's very nasty. Can he bank the 4 up table and use the 8 to hold? Well, I think he tried to pot the 8 just with the pace he played it, and he'll be happy with that. It's a good leave.
If you've been with us over the last few days, you'll know that there's always been the second chance for anyone who gets beaten on the winner's side of the draw. There's a whole different vibe now. Every match for the rest of this tournament is effectively an eliminator. Single elimination from tomorrow. And of course, anyone who loses in this round, losers qualifying. Well, that's it. No more second chances. Just news of Darren Appleton. He's looking really good to still be here tomorrow. 7-1 now he leads against Raimo Tisar. Yanni Uski has got the job done at 9-1 against Ramazan Akdag. Some of the other players who've come through this round and will be in the draw later tonight. Loho Sum, Sanjin Pelovanovic, Tyler Steyer, who we saw on this table, Dmitry Yongo, who beat Mika Immonen, John Mora, Badr Alawadi, who saw off Skylar Woodward, Chris Melling, and Mario He. And these are the players who've come through the loser's side. Quality on the other side of the draw, quite breathtaking.
cue ball looks close to the pocket. And it's very close to the pocket. You won't be happy with that, Zielinski. It was a pretty easy safety shot just to separate both balls.
If you're thinking it's all gone a bit quiet in the arena, there is a reason for that. As we get towards the finish here, there are fewer and fewer matches in progress, so quite a number of tables lying idle at the moment. One table which is in action is table 2. We've been talking to you about the struggles of Torsten Homan. 6-0 down against Karol Skowronski. He's a player, Skowronski, who's been around a while, Carl, and then sort of drifted out of the scene a bit, but been having some good results the last few months.
Yeah, just needs to try and kick on and go deep. It's just so difficult though, isn't it? Because at some point you're going to have to beat a champion. Catchy's got a little thin one on the purple 5. I'm wondering if the cue ball's going to make contact with the 7. You would think it is going to, looking at that angle. Well, he didn't contact the 7.
You know, I like to set you these little trivia challenges, Carl, but there's always relevance to them. Karol Skowronski, who we were just talking about there, what age do you think he is?
41.
Close-ish. Turned 38 back in May. Having a bit of a revival as he comes towards 40. David Alcadie now 6-4 down to Francesco Candela. That's the one we're really keeping an eye on. Khaled Al-Ghamdi of Saudi Arabia, who beat Skylar Woodward yesterday, has pulled one back against Christian Surdea. But the intense Romanian is still on the hill, leading 8-7. Was 8-5 at one stage. So they were level at 2-all, again at 3-all, and now, once more at 4 apiece, as Eklent Kaçi levels again with Wiktor Zielinski. Daniel Maciol on the hill against Bart Chaplin in the old Polish clash. That's 8-4. Gonna have a look now at some of the scores. And pick out the ones of particular interest to you as we go through them. A couple of hill finishes going on at the moment. Fabian Negline against Michael Gavenciak, and also Bizarre Spahiu against So Shaw. Torsten Homan still 6-0 down to Karol Skowronski. Homan, the only player in this round who hasn't won a rack yet, either in completed matches or those still in progress. 4-all here.
He is breaking so consistent. The cue ball, well, the one ball's going the side again, and the cue ball's reacting the same. Watch the cue ball. Look, it's hitting that ball and then flicking into the 9 and then sort of spinning back on itself. 4 times he's done that.
Said it feels like he's been around a long time. It's 5 years ago now. He won a big event in New York, beat the current US Open champion Carlo Biado in the final. He was only 18 at the time. The same year, he got to the final of the US Open. Beat Francisco Sanchez Ruiz to go through to face Jason Shaw, but found himself 8-0 down and made it was very hard to find a way back. He ended up losing 13-4. Has been a multiple winner of Euro Tour events. And Albania have managed to raise a team for the World Cup a couple of times. He's been involved. Last time they played was Kaci and Bizarre Spahiu, who's in action at the moment, as we were saying, in Leicester in 2019. And they beat Russia, including Fedor Gorst, who became world champion later that year.
Nice safety shot there. Draws the cue ball in behind the 7.
Khalid Al-Ghamdi continuing to turn it around. Another rack against Christian Surdea, so that's going hill-hill as well. So 3 matches currently locked at 8-all.
Just misses the 2 ball there. Slow swerve. It's just getting thrown from one side to another at the moment. One man takes the lead, then it gets level, then the other one does.
It could be one of those where the whole match feels like the calm before the storm, and then the storm arrives in the final rack. Zielinski did lead 2-0, but since then there's never been more than a rack in it. Michael Schneider has finally got the job done against Slavomir Savitsky at 9-8. So some consolation, considerable one really, for failing to kill it off against Francisco Sanchez Ruiz earlier from 8-5 up. And another hill-hill winner is Bizarre Spahiu. Kaci's fellow Albanian has finally made it through against Soshaw, 9-8. Fabian Negline has won 9-8 against Michael Gavenciak. All these hill-hill matches finishing around the same time. And only 8 places left now, 9, sorry, in the single elimination stage.
needs the cue ball to pull up. He's just overrun this a wee bit. If he can draw the cue ball back and just leave a thin 8, he will probably choose to do that. Because going forward, he would have to load it up with left English. Yeah, so he's just took his medicine. That's what we say in the trade. Take your medicine. Leave yourself a shot. Refocus. So this long 9 ball to sneak in front again.
It's the 4th time that the lead has changed hands. Eklent Kaçi back in front at 5-4. Petri Mäkinen is on the hill at 8-3 against Jonas Kornmesser. That hill finish between Christian Surdea and Khaled Al-Ghamdi is still going on. David Alcadie in danger. 6-5 he trails against Francesco Candela. Alcadie's never made consecutive Mosconi Cup teams. He would have come here looking to get a big haul of points in the hope of achieving that this time after the big role he played in London last December. But he's in danger of an early elimination. And Torsten Homan, the local man, 7-0 he trails against Karol Skowronski.
Simply having a nightmare to try and make the last 64 is Thorsten. Catchy, 4 from 4. 1 ball in the right centre. Can he make it 5 from 5? Of course he can. Michael, is this the best breaking you've seen so far in the opening 3 days?
I was wondering about that. Yeah, very possibly. Very possibly. I mean, I said this to Shane, actually. I was talking to him after his match earlier, that it seems players are able to master the break from maybe 3 or 4 racks at a time. But to do it consistently throughout a match, we're not really seeing anyone do that until perhaps now. With Catchy, Carl, what we get from him at the moment is unpredictability. He can look like a great player, so full of quality, and then other days he just doesn't show up. He looks at times maybe disinterested. Now maybe that's a false impression, but he can't get much consistency going, and you do need consistency to win these big long events and to string together a number of good tournaments in a row. So do you think that's the way he's going to be throughout his career? As he gets older, could you see him becoming more like a Filler or an Ocean or a Van Boning and having that relentless way about him?
No, I don't think he will have the relentless way about him. I just don't think that's his character. He likes to enjoy his life away from the table. I think he still works pretty hard. I think he does practice. He's not just one of them who doesn't really play at all. I think he puts a bit of effort in, but you know, he's got a lot of friends. Albania, he's fairly well known in Albania. It's obviously a small country. He's got a lot of friends in London, so he spends a bit of time there as well. Actually a very good poker player, he's Catchy, so he plays a lot of poker as well. But he's very consistent on the Euro Tour from the results you was reading out before.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's the point I'm making. He can produce it there. You come to something like this where you have to be relentless because you've got so many long matches day after day for a full week. And that's the big challenge for him. I'll tell you what, I'd say he's very good at keeping the poker face when he's playing that game.
And the other thing as well, and this is not a cop-out at all, but you know, if you look at his draw here, he's lost to Nikos 9-7. We don't know what's going to happen here, but let's say if he was to lose 9-8, he's lost 9-7 to a great player and 9-8 to Zielinski. As where, if I had a look at the draw, some of the matches going on there now, if you took the top 16 players and give him the same draw, they'd all qualify. So maybe he's had a few tough draws as well, but things do turn around.
Yeah, very fair point.
Is he playing a billiard and trying to pot the 8? Looks close. Looks very close. He is.
Nicely called as ever by Carl Boys. Petri Mäkinen, he's been around a while, and he's going to be here tomorrow. He's completed victory at 9-3 against Jonas Kornmesser of Austria. David Alcadie charging back. He's level now at 6-all against Francesco Candela. Daniel Maciol is having a bit of trouble seeing off his compatriot Bart Schapler, who's now got it back to 8-6.
Catchy's making his move. It's been neck and neck all the way through these opening 9 racks. Just these couple of balls for a 2-rack lead.
And that's something he hasn't had in this match. Wiktor Zielinski had it early on. You would have to say Kaci, at this stage, has been pretty dominant since then. And he's now won 3 racks in a row. Kaci perhaps closing in on a place in Friday's action. He leads Wiktor Zielinski by 2 for the first time at 6-4. Just some of the other matches still going on that we haven't maybe spoken so much about. Olli Turkalainen, another Finnish player, leading Jan van Lierop of the Netherlands, 6-5. Christos Papageorgiou from Greece, leading 7-2 over Thomas Kirsch. And it's 4-all between Germany's Sebastian Stab and the British player Spencer Oliver, as they all scrap it out for the few remaining places. Khaled Al-Ghamdi has completed that turnaround against Christian Surdea. Great comeback from him. He beat Skylar Woodward earlier in the week, and he's still going to be around tomorrow because he's beaten Surdea 9-8. And Bart Schapler's pulled another one back against Daniel Maciol. That one is 8-7. Catchy, 2 clear for the first time, looking to make a dash for the winning post.
Unfortunately for Catchy, the 2 balls found the top rail. But as always, the 1 ball finds the left centre. Looks tricky to lay a safety shot.
Wiktor Zielinski's been spending more and more time in that chair as the racks have gone by, since he was 2-0 in front. He's only won 2 out of 8 racks since then.
I wonder if Catchy's tempted to bank this 2 in the bottom left. He will have had a little look at that. If he does, that is full out attack mode. Is he going for it? He has gone for it, and it looks good. What a shot. Needs the cue ball to slow up a little. Doesn't want to be on the rail. Now it's going to be very hard for him to pot this 3. Get on the 4. Horrible shot. Doesn't look like he can play it in the bottom right because the scratch seems to be on. Cutting it in the side, I have no clue where the cue ball's going.
Karol Skowronski has just gone 8-0 up against Torsten Homan. Looks pretty inevitable that the German is going to bow out of his hometown tournament now. But he would desperately love to just get one rack on the board. Don't let the adventure finish with a 9-0 defeat. Oh, he looks like he really fancies the job now.
What a beautiful shot that was. Couldn't play it any harder because the throw would have scratched, so he had to play it dead weight, and that is simply amazing.
Well, he's showing his full range of quality here. It's been a really good effort this. A couple of potential pitfalls along the way. Sometimes his commitment and his attitude been called into question. Well, a rack like this, quite a way to answer those questions. Shown great commitment and application here. And we're saying for so much of this match that it had all the look of being a hill-hill finish. It may yet be. The indications at the moment are pointing in a very different direction, because that's now 4 racks in a row for Eklent Kaçi. And all of a sudden, he's only 2 away from the single elimination stage of this European Open. He leads Wiktor Zielinski 7-4. Meanwhile, Karol Skowronski is at the table. We're going to have a look in on that now. Looking to round this off against Torsten Homan. He'll be the most unpopular man in Fulda. If he sees him off 9-0, he's got to put that out of his mind. Mentioned that World Masters win 10 years ago. I think that was his annus mirabilis, as he also got to the World Cup final with Poland that year. Beat so many good players to win the World Masters. Shane Van Boening, Tony Drago, Nick Vandenberg, and then Mateusz Śniegotzki in an all-Polish final. Played in Poland that year.
Again, he finds the 1 ball in the side. I'm sure he's made the 1 ball in that side pocket every break.
Another winner, Christos Papageorgiou, has beaten Thomas Kirsch 9-2 and will be in the hat very shortly now. Not long till this round is completed, you would think. Ollie Turkalainen on the hill at 8-5 against Jan van Lierop.
This is a good chance for Catchy to get on the hill. He's going to just float over past the 8 for the 3. That's good. Balls are all sat there nice. It's a good chance.
And these are the last moments of Torsten Homan's campaign in his hometown. He bounced back well from losing in the opening match on table 1 on the opening morning. Managed to get within 1 round of single elimination. But he couldn't really put a glove on Karol Skowronski there, and the man from Poland wins 9-0. The end of Homan's bid for hometown glory. Not sure I gave you the Darren Appleton result, but can confirm he's through. 1-9-2 against Raimo Tisar. That's an impressive result.
Yeah, Darren will be a player that some of these winners will want to avoid in the last 64.
Well, he's still capable of playing really good stuff. You know that only too well from the World Cup last year, and he had a very good World Championship this year. Ollie Turkalainen of Finland being made to wait a little longer at least. Jan van Lierop has pulled it back to 8-6. And that's not a happy face from Zielinski. He was full of youthful enthusiasm, bouncing around the table early on. It's all changed.
Yeah, he's been completely froze out of the match. It's been a masterclass so far. Can he finish it off in style?
Well, it was a well-known cat food brand which ran an advert that coined the slogan 8 out of 10 cats. For Eklent Kaçi, it's now a case of 8 out of 10 racks from 2-0 down, and he's within a whisker of a place in the last 64. David Alcadie still battling away out there with Francesco Candela. It's 6-all in that one, 4-all between Sebastian Stab and Spencer Oliver. Ollie Turkalainen still on the hill at 8-6 against Jan van Lierop. Daniel Massiol also looking for one more. He leads Bart Schapla 8-7. You've got to say, Carl, about 20 minutes ago, maybe half an hour, we wouldn't have seen this coming at all.
No, and I think if he pots the one in the side this time, I'm certain he's done every break where he's potted the one in the side, and no one has come close to that. And it's there, Michael. I'm convinced he's potted the one in that side pocket every single break.
Well, you asked the question earlier, is this the best breaking performance that anyone's produced so far in the tournament? I think now we have to say yes, certainly from the matches we've seen. Going to be quite an asset to take with him into the last 64. Assuming he gets there. Job not quite done yet. So frustrating for Zielinski. Young man on the rise in the game. Wanting to get out here in front of the cameras, show everyone what he can do. And apart from one really nice burst at the start, he's not really had much opportunity to do that.
Does sneak past that 4, doesn't it? It's not easy. It's not going to be easy to land on the 4 as well. He's going to try and find the gap in between the 7 and the 9. Oh, look at this. Look at this.
Saying at the start of the match, you're never quite sure which Eklent Kaçi is going to turn up. Well, if this one keeps turning up for the next few days, he could be the inaugural European Open champion. We know he's got the talent. Just holding it together match after match as the intensity builds. That's the challenge. But he's come up here against a very good player. Looks as though he's going to beat him comfortably in the end. Just a few more balls required.
This looks good as well. This has been a strong performance from Catchy. It really has. For me, the performance of the event so far on this table, of course, we can only talk about what we've seen here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And what I've been most impressed with is the absolute focus that he has shown. He's given everything to every single shot. Daniel Maciol still can't get over the line against Bart Szapla. It's now 8-all there. There will be another Polish player going through there, but it might not be the one we would have expected. We talked about players coming through from the loser side. And none of the players who've got here with 3 straight wins will want to get in that draw. Well, on the basis of this performance, put Catchy right at the top of that list. From our point of view, it will be a treat to see him draw someone like Ocean or Filler or Van Boning. David Alcadie may or may not be in that draw. He's just gone 7-6 down against Francesco Candela. Eklent Kaçi came here on the back of reaching the final of a Euro Tour event in Bulgaria just a few days ago, beaten by Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. He was 4-3 down in this match, but he's shown all of that form to turn it round with 6 in a row, and a match which looked as though it was heading for a tight finish has, in the end, proved to be anything but. Eklent Kaçi beats Wiktor Zielinski by 9 racks to 4, and he is through to the single elimination stage. So still a few places to be decided. David Alcadie, as I said, 7-6 down to Francesco Candela. Sebastian Stab, 5-4 up on Spencer Oliver. That's got some way to run, you would think. Ollie Turkalainen leads Jan van Lierop 8-6, and it's a hill-hill finish between Bart Szapla and Daniel Maciol. So once all those matches have been completed, the draw will be made for the last 64 single elimination stage. You can catch up on all the details of that draw later this